One striking feature about my current base on AutCraft is that there are many different blocks that make up the city. Some are white, some are gray, some are other colors. Some are wood, some are stone, some are concrete. Why would I want to do this? And more importantly, how did this even happen? This is a history of my building styles and color palettes in AutCraft, and I'll explain all of that within this video. Now, I will be going in the opposite order of this video as I did in previous ones, so I'll be starting off with like the current moment, most recent builds, and I'll be going back. You will see why as the video goes on, but I definitely feel like it fits this video in particular better. Also, part of this reason as well is that I didn't even really have a color palette for the base until recently, and the only reason why this even happened was because I was building the frame and I had to do a single color scheme for all of it. There are also other parts that I ended up using that same palette in, and it just the same palette kind of just started to show up in a lot of different places. Now, at a first glance, the base seems very gray. It almost seems like I only use stone, but this could actually not be further from the truth. For a previous video, I made a texture pack where every block is only one color, and each one is a different color. Now, originally this was supposed to be some sort of weird April Fool's prank, but I decided it's actually super useful in this video because you can actually see like the blocks I use and like the different sources they come from. Now, you can see a lot of gray, but you can also probably see a lot of orange and cyan in places that you thought were gray originally. We'll get there in a second, but yeah, these blocks are probably not expecting. So, if that's the case, what are the main blocks of the palette? The most common ones are stone bricks, polished andesite, and smooth stone. You can kind of see them basically anywhere in the base, oftentimes mixed together. These blocks are usually relatively easy to get, which is part of the reason why I was building out of them, although they also just work together pretty well. I also use both of the variants of smooth stone, so both the slabs and the normal blocks. And the reason why mainly is because if you don't know, smooth stone, like the normal block, is actually relatively recent. It used to be that there were only slabs and you can double up slabs as how you see it today. And it was only due to like a command that you could get an actual smooth stone block. Alongside that though, there are also the blocks which show the blue and the gray. And those are acacia logs and cyan terracotta. Now these seem really random, but they both actually have a grayish hue to them. Cyan terracotta is actually very interesting as it's like a middle shade of gray. It's darker than light gray concrete, but it's lighter than dark gray concrete. And acacia logs, the bark of acacia logs is very similar to that of pale oak as well. And pale oak was only a recent thing, so that's why there's a lot of acacia as well. Also, most of the glass here is cyan, which is also why you see a lot of cyan around the edge of the base and also where there just is glass. And then there's lighting, where it's a lot more ambiguous. Now, the first thing you probably noticed are the soul flames. You can see the torches at the entrance of my dock, and you can also see the ones on top of the center of my main build. But other ones include white or gray candles. I usually use candles in places where I didn't know what to do, or like what light source I should do. So basically, instead I switched all of the torches with torch spam with candles, just to simplify things. Although there are also areas where there are candles, which isn't related to torch spam either. There's also sea lanterns and also soul lanterns. Soul lanterns are a bit problematic because they are pretty dim, but in some areas, especially on the evil island, I use that to my own advantage. More minor blocks that are part of the palette include copper, mainly the oxidized variant, pale oak, clay, glow lichen, and tuff. These blocks are much less common, a lot of them are much newer, but there are a few builds which kind of have them. And it has that sort of same theme to it where it's mostly gray but with a tint of cyan. This was the palette that I used the most ever since I returned from my break, but at the same time I have still kept with the theme of having a lot of different palettes, and I've built lots of things in completely unique ones. For example, there's this room which is for my bamboo farm. I decided to use some, at the time, new bamboo planks and bamboo wood for it. This mining room right here is made out of obsidian. That is actually more of a practical reason, but still it's different. And also there's this nice little room right here which doesn't really have a use, that's made out of mangrove. Another color that pops up a lot here is white. Blocks do vary, with some being white concrete, quartz, or snow. And there isn't really a pattern with these, as they are built in completely different times. But a lot of these buildings with white were built right before I took my break in 2019. This was actually around the time that the Hermitcraft series started to pop off, and this was in Season 6, and futuristic color palettes were very popular. Good examples of the sort of modern or futuristic sort of color palette is this old sheep pen, the old bone shop, and this building for what would be the Perry Potions once I moved the shop. There's also this house, which used to be an outpost house as an attempt to move, and then there's this one, which is an early prototype of the house that I just showed you, with that same sort of modern building style. The metro system was also built with white walls to make it easier to expand and match with other builds, but this isn't really anything related to like just changing the colors and whatever. It's just to make the metro itself look better and hopefully connect to different builds better. The clock tower and this old egg farm were built before this era. I think they were both built around 2018. And then there's this block of buildings which consists of a lot of small farms along with the bamboo one from my current XP grinder. So it's all built after I returned. The bamboo farm was built first, and then eventually I decided to add a whole bunch of small farms, such as for glowberries and also the nether vine, and decided to attach to it as well. Why did I choose white instead of any other color here? I do not know. I think I remember it's something due to like abundance of a certain block. Now this is all made out of snow, so I guess that could make sense. Although at the time, and I mean I still don't have it, but at the time I did not have a snow farm, so unless I got that like from a shop, I just don't see how that would have been practical. I could have also just been experimenting and wanting to add some white to the base. I am not exactly sure, to be honest. The rest of the builds don't follow any particular pattern, and most of them were built before 2019. You might notice that a few of the buildings are made out of solely cobblestone or regular stone. This is something that will definitely not pass nowadays, but this actually was pretty common back in the day where you just build something out of one color. And usually it was like a super basic block, like cobblestone, or even wood. And we'll get to wood in a second, but that was also very common. That's also why, like, the oldest part of the main build, the front section, is mostly made out of either cobblestone or stone. I also like to build with sandstone a lot. I mean, I still do. If you check out my other Forever World, you'll see quite a few sandstone builds around it. Although AutCraft was also not an exception to that. As you can see, this room, as part of the old one, was built out of sandstone, and also this small area, which leads to the basement. I was also trying to be more exotic for a brief period when it came to building pallets, and this was around the time when the main base was being built. And this is especially apparent if you look at the floor. The floor for the first section is made out of prismarine, while the second one is made out of mossy cobble. Now, to be honest, at this time, I still thought mossy cobble was like nearly impossible to obtain, like it was in beta Minecraft, which is why I did that. But the prismarine I just straight up bought from a shop. Like, that was completely unnecessary. This is actually also why the relaxation room right over here with the redstone ore inside of it is made out of red nether bricks. Yeah, I don't know what I was thinking about that. Red nether bricks don't really work with a lot of different colors, and really they only work in the nether. They don't really work with overworld builds. Despite all of that though, I did not play around with stained glass at all, which actually, when I was looking through this video, really surprised me. Because for a long time I would at least use like different shades of glass, like whether it's white or light gray or dark gray or even black. You might also notice the pink and light blue wool of the extremely old sheep pen in the very front of the base, which is actually technically outside of my claim, but that's besides the point. The main reason why was because I was farming those two colors in particular for the monster roller coaster. I don't know why I needed those two colors so much, especially. I mean, I'm really talking about the pink. And why I put them on the old sheep pen instead of more basic colors like black or gray. Yeah, I don't know, okay? I just don't. This was also before concrete was added, so basically the only options you had were either wool or terracotta. And obviously if you want a bright and saturated color, terracotta is not an option. So you're kind of forced to use wool. Really the only places that use terracotta is I guess the roof of this old egg farm and also this old head of mine which double functions as a mine. And then there's all the wood around. In the early days of Minecraft, wood was definitely the most popular building block, and most builds were either made of like oak, really it's only oak people used, or cobblestone. Like those were really the only two things you'd see. But if you look around my base, most of the buildings are made out of either birch or oak wood. Now this is probably due to there being forest around the around my base still at this time. Or at least when I was moving there, I had saplings from where there used to be forest around there. So it was much easier for me to get those 2 woods than like any other kind. But at the same time, that's not known. At that time, people wouldn't really spend very much time gathering resources. Like they wouldn't go like 3,000 blocks to find a taiga to get spruce wood. That is really more of a relatively recent thing. Also, as a side note, there's still a birch forest nearby that's not deforested to the south of my base, near my brother's base. But the peninsula that you see directly south didn't exist, that was terraformed, and before it wasn't anywhere near as large as it was today. I wish I could get to the sort of terraforming I did around my base in a future video. I mean, that's definitely going to be a future subject, but that's out of the scope of this video. Because the land that you see over there was not in render distance of my base at that time. So, because I was young and I was stupid, rather than just like memorizing a direct route between my base and my brother's, when I like collaborate with him, I would always go around like to this, I'd always go like around right next to the shoreline and basically make a gigantic loop and wasting a whole bunch of time. So this was like way less accessible for me than it should have been. Also, as a side note, I don't even know why it's still not deforested yet. I feel like it should be, but yeah, I don't know. And it wasn't even like there was a safety reason for it either. Drones weren't even added yet. Like, when you're on the ocean, you are super safe. No hostile mob could touch you. Phantoms weren't in the game either, so you didn't have to worry about them either. In fact, if you wanted to survive on that, you could literally just go on a boat and then just sail in the middle of the ocean, and nothing could touch you. Just a little fun fact about old Minecraft right there. The other wood variants at the time were used less often, although you will see them around my base, and those are spruce, jungle, acacia, and dark oak. I most likely got the saplings either from the resource worlds or from the community chests. You can see a lot of these woods in this part of the floor, which I'm just gonna get to like pretty soon. And also you can see them in this section of what used to be my main base. And yeah, then there's the floor. Yeah, I was saving this for last for a very good reason. This is definitely the messiest part of my base. No shot. There are dozens of different blocks that compose of the floor. I mean, obviously the part in the front is the worst out of all of them, which was mainly composed due to first there being a whole bunch of different blocks as the pathways, and probably some of the parts even being incomplete, and also like dozens of creeper holes. And then each time a creeper exploded, I would just fill it in with a different block. Yeah, this singular block of cyan terracotta, by the way, was me trying to get rid of a pillager. Just a little fun fact right there. And a nice little touch to the sheer monstrosity of this area. Now, actually, funnily enough, a very similar reason is why there's the floors so many different blocks in so many different areas. The reason why was because as I was expanding, I would, for, the base of it, the floor, the pathways, whatever you want to call it, I would use whatever block I had the most that I felt like I could expend the most. So you see like a lot of areas where it's like sandstone or like normal stone. This area, like the most recent one, there's a lot of tuff and andesite. This area has a lot of bamboo planks. This is even dirt. And this is actually, I found this always really fascinating because like the floor of the space really shows you as to how I expanded. You can kind of see like the layers as to like when I pushed out and like which directions I pushed out and that sort of stuff. Do the pathways need to be standardized? 100% yes. That is a pretty high priority on my list for near future projects. But at the same time, I almost feel like it will hurt a lot because it almost feels like there's a lot of lore as to like how they're laid out. And it also just really matches with the unorganized theme of my base. And that's the history of the color palettes inside of my Forever World base and the history behind it. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Make sure to leave a like, subscribe to my channel, dislike if you dislike, and I'll see you guys all in the next video. Peace out!